Washington Times front page for Wednesday, April 12th, 2023. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. Congressional lawmakers are demanding answers as outrage grows over a major leak of highly classified government documents. Pentagon correspondent Ben Wolfgang reports Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer called for a classified briefing on the documents. A chorus of other lawmakers said the administration needs to act quickly to find the leak's source and prepare for possible disclosure of even more damaging material. The Pentagon and Justice Department have launched investigations into the leaked materials, which the administration has yet to authenticate. The documents, most of which are several months old, contained sensitive information and intelligence on various topics, including the disposition of Ukrainian forces, a possible Egyptian weapons deal with Russia, and a possible hack of a Canadian pipeline by Russian-based cyber intelligence agents. Those leaks have generated global headlines, but nowhere has the fallout been more embarrassing and explosive than South Korea. Andrew Salmon reports the government of President Yoon Suk-yeol was forced on the defensive due to the timing of the revelations. They include details of a recent U.S. campaign to pressure South Korea to supply weapons to Ukraine, involving some of his highest-level officials. Yoon makes a high-profile state visit to Washington later this month. As the Supreme Court ponders the liability of technology companies and their treatment of terrorists who use their platforms, it's been reminded of the words of one Twitter official in 2014 who was reticent to police users. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter, the Twitter employee, who remained anonymous, told Mother Jones about the company's passive approach to defining terrorism. Alex Schroyer and Stephen Diner report that quote came up during arguments at the court in a case testing whether families of victims of terrorism can sue Twitter for failing to sift out terrorist content. It was coupled with another similar case involving Google that delved into whether platforms are liable for the algorithms they use to promote content. The technology companies insist they try to cull terrorist content, but acknowledge they can't be perfect. You can read all of these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. You can also find the entire lineup of Washington Times podcasts at WashingtonTimes.com/podcasts. President Biden's budget plan continues one of the fastest expansions of the federal bureaucracy in American history, with roughly 75,000 more non-defense employees added in just 1 year. Stephen Diner reports the spending plan needs congressional approval, but should it hold, it would mean the Treasury and Labor Departments will have grown more than 20% over 2 years. Agriculture, Energy, Health and Human Services, Housing and Urban Development, Interior, and Veterans Affairs each would have grown 10% or more. The State Department would be up just 2% over 2 years and just 1% for next year under the president's plan, and the Department of Homeland Security would grow just 2.8%. The leaders of the Republican rebellion who delayed the installation of House Speaker Kevin McCarthy at the opening of this Congress are united behind him just 3 months later. The outliers told our Kerry Pickett they're pleased with McCarthy's leadership. They say he earned their respect by keeping promises that won their begrudging support to elect him Speaker after 15 rounds of voting in January. The band of 20 holdouts won concessions for rules changes, including procedures that help lawmakers curb government spending. McCarthy also doled out plum committee assignments to them and their allies. And finally, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott's sunny disposition, optimistic message, and unique personal biography have grabbed the attention of Republicans. Seth McLaughlin reports Scott has been on a listening tour in early presidential primary states. He's nearing a final decision on whether he'll run for the White House and has launched an exploratory committee for that run. Colleagues see him as a cooling presence, delivering conservative principles with common sense and seriousness. Find all today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in any major podcast app. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.